And I'm actually going to approach another one from Christian's platform that I think we may hear some differences between the candidates, and that specifically is on the marijuana in general and the war on drugs and all of that. In Christian's platform, he does say that he is open and supportive to the marijuana industry. I'd like to hear exactly what that means, and let's see what the other candidates have to say about where they draw their line.
Sure. So, first and foremost, I've never done drugs my whole entire life, and I've passed the highest security clearances to validate that. So, I think this issue is one that comes from a little bit of I've evolved on this issue, I'll be honest, because when I was younger, I just quite couldn't understand, especially when I was in college, people doing what they did, but people do what they're gonna do, and that's their prerogative. But as I've grown older, and especially tied somewhat to the homelessness situation, I started thinking a little bit, maybe I'm the one that's wrong, and maybe it is more of an illness, especially with some of these narcotics that are obviously being taken by these individuals. Then you compound it with the fact that you have some narcotics that will kill people, like fentanyl, for example. So I've evolved on this issue, and I've started thinking, okay, well, maybe I'm the one that was wrong and judgmental, and I could be, I'll start thinking to myself, how could we fix this solution regarding narcotics in our state? So I say it openly on my campaign flyer, just say no to drugs. To me, that's first and foremost, if you can go that route, that's what I would advocate for. But if you're gonna do marijuana, which, medical marijuana is legalized in the state, and so is obviously recreational, then it might as well be a drug that was manufactured safely here in the state of California. And that is supporting jobs. Why not? So that's where I've kind of evolved in this issue. The Emerald Triangle, which is up in the northern section of the state, produces, from what I understand, I've never been there, so I'm the wrong person to ask, but has produced, has a lot of production of marijuana, and if it brings jobs and improves the economy to that part of the state, so be it. I'd rather have people that are going to elect to choose to smoke marijuana to have it be California made, rather than to have it be brought over the border by some cartel. So that's my position.
Very good. Christian?
So this is an issue that's personal to me because I'm an immigrant myself. So I was born in Guatemala City in the late 70s. So I look a little bit younger than maybe what I look like. And yes, I do. Thank you. And so my parents immigrated here legally. My dad, as I mentioned earlier, pursued his PhD in genetics from Purdue University. And the reason we left our country was because there was a civil war going on in our country. And it was unsafe for anybody that was educated because we were in an ongoing battle between the communists of our country and the people that were the patriots of our country at the time. And if it were not for President Reagan and Israel stepping in and defending us, we'd probably be a communist country, no different than Nicaragua. So when we came to the US, we had to go back to Guatemala into a civil war. And we did so because we had to follow the law. And we did that, 1982, at the height of the Civil War. And then my dad applied again, and he got readmitted. He did his master's, then he did his PhD, just going through the process, okay? And then when he completed his PhD, we had to leave the country again. So we had to leave, and we moved to Mexico. So we followed the law. And then finally, he was able to secure employment here in the US, and we legally came back. There's no way I would have qualified, much less even been considered for one of the highest security clearances in the country, if my parents hadn't done the right thing, I guess first and foremost. So I'm aware of this issue, and this is an issue that's really personal to me because I've had many friends from around the world, because we lived in a college campus from just about every country of the world, who eventually became US citizens and followed the right process. They followed the right steps to become citizens. And I'll say that one of my greatest days in my life was when I pledged allegiance to the flag and I became a US citizen after waiting more than 20 years to do so. So I'm very, so regarding this situation of what's going on here, so I think this is where the Republicans could have an opportunity instead of just being all black and white. Do I recognize the border is just a complete mess and it's completely out of control and has seen better days? Absolutely. But at the same time, who are the people coming here? So 75% of the people that are coming here are from the Northern Triangle countries of Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and then obviously Mexico. That's 75% of the people. Now, I can't talk to the other countries, but Guatemala is probably the most evangelical country in the whole world, okay? We have the fastest growing number of evangelicals. We have pretty much a Mormon church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints temple being built in our communities pretty much every other year in all the small villages throughout the country. Okay, 40% of our state are devout evangelicals. So a lot of the people that are coming here are Christians, I hate to tell you. And I volunteered, I'll be honest, I volunteered at the Immigrant Center here for the unaccompanied minors that were here, okay? And what were they asking for? They weren't asking for toys, they were asking for Bibles, okay? So, yes, I understand that this issue is toxic, it's political, it weaponizes people, it divides us, okay? But I feel if there should be some sympathy, or if there should be some compassion, if there should be a little bit of openness to who is allowed, maybe it should be people like the people in this room, people that we know would want to contribute to the community and have solid Christian principles. So at least that is what my positive message, by the way. Not everybody, I have a positive message. And that's a positive message that I would hope to appeal to. But I recognize that it's easy to say and it's hard to implement because you have a lot of people here that are undocumented to begin with. Then on top of that, you have a lot of people that right now are at the border that once Title 42 gets rescinded, it's going to be complete chaos. Make no mistake, the Democrats are doing this on purpose. Because then they can point the finger and say, look, you're racist, you don't like us, you don't like brown people, you don't like black people, you don't like Asians. I mean, this is all being done politically. Okay, so I would just hope, the convention, the Republican convention is this weekend. I would just hope one person, one political strategist gets a little bit of light bulb on and says, you know what? Maybe we can play their game to our advantage. Okay, we can invite Christians, people that are obviously, they have to be properly vetted. They have to be properly, we're not going to be granting citizenship because that's not fair for the people in line. But if you have an unaccompanied person, okay, that's coming here, for example, that is young, or we have people that are here in this country that have made this country their home, people that are volunteered, for example, they were in the military, they were undocumented. I think there should be some logic into this discussion that is not being met, not being discussed at all. It's only close the border or not close the border. And if you know our laws, our asylum laws, I'm not a lawyer, but from what I understand, they're pretty straightforward. People can come. Now, if we don't like the laws, we should change the laws. That's what the process is of this country. So, but we just can't arbitrarily say we're gonna do something when we have laws in place. So, at least that's a starting point for what I advocate for. And I hope it's a little bit of a level-headed approach instead of what's going on in the rest of the country. And I'm afraid it's gonna devolve into a fighting match the rest of this election season.
Great. Christian?
So my social media handle, C Morales, C-A-G-O-V, C Morales, C-A-G-O-V, and my website is cmorales for cagovernor.com, cmorales for cagovernor.com.
And last